got a TV on the back.
I'm turning it off now.
Well, good evening and welcome to this Sunday, November 8th edition of the Island Stats Football Show. Joining me today is Macy O'Deal, Danica Gibbons, Garrett Punchadil, and we await the arrival of Nikita Robinson. But, folks, what a weekend.
Oh, what a weekend is right.
A total of 31 goals were scored in 8 matches this weekend. Last weekend, remember, we were talking about the lack of goals, but this week we are 3 shy of doubling last week's total. Let's look at the Premier Division results over the weekend. Last night, Robin Hood defeated North Village Rams 3-0. Today, saw Devonshire Colts defeat St. George's Colts 4-2. Somerset Eagles defeated Crossroads 3-2. And the match between Southampton Rangers and the Denny Town Hornets ended 1-1, while the Devonshire Cougars got by the PHC Zebras 3-1. In the first division, Social Club and Boulevard Blazers drew 2-2. St. David's edged Wolves 1-0, and the Flanagan's Onions defeated Island Rangers 5-2. We hear these results. We're going to go through our picks later on, but obviously we didn't see this train wreck coming this week, did we, Punchy?
Oh, that's for sure. That's really for sure. When I look at what I predicted last week, I mean, in the show last week, I was like, what? So that's really something else. Really, I'm shocked with some of these results. Really, I really am.
Yeah. Obviously, I always ask what result kind of stands out for you guys. And I'm going to ask that again this week. And I'm pretty sure I already know a lot of people's going to say all of them. But Danica, which one of those results, when you heard it, kind of stands out for you?
The Flanagans and Island Rangers. And what was the other first division school you said just now? Sorry.
St. David's and
Premier. Sorry.
Devonshire Colts 4, St. George's Colts 2, Eagles 3, Crossroads 2, Rangers 1, Dennytown 1,
Okay,
2 3, PHC 1.
Crossroads game. Yeah,
Oh, the
that was
Crossroads.
quite surprising. Yeah. Considering what how Eagles have been doing.
Right. Well, I mean, Maceo, obviously you got a chance to see a few of these games, but I mean, when we get to our picks, I mean, everybody's going to have a lot to say because there has been a lot said on this show and outside the game about, how teams have been performing thus far. And I do want to say congratulations to Somerset Eagles, who picked up their first points of the season with a 3-2 win over Crossroads. One they had to win, but Maceo, looking at it, let's talk a little bit about last night first, because North Village, the defending champions, go into BAA Field, and they've played on that synthetic surface, much like the National Sports Center, but on a good pitch, and they haven't performed well each time.
Yeah, it's actually just it's disturbing. I mean, a pattern's manifesting itself as it relates to North Village. They come with a plan, and once that plan doesn't work, it's no B and C plan, going on. So they were totally overrun by Robin Hood last night, and we had John Barry on the show, and we talked about ruthlessness. his team needing to be a little bit more ruthless to be genuine title contenders, and they was definitely ruthless against North Village. In particular, Shea Brangman, his strength and his power troubled North Village all night, and North Village had no answer. They had absolutely no answer for Robin Wood last night. So I mean, kudos to John Barry, and actually also the impact that this show is having as to giving certain feedback, to coaches, to players, that they're going away and trying to figure out, how to improve.
Yeah. Danica, obviously we know how teams kind of get themselves up for games and so forth, but looking at how we use St. George's as per se, they were not giving up many goals, especially with Freddie and Gould, but today gave up 4 to Devonshire Colts. Were you surprised in hearing that?
Is that me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, I was, to be honest with you. But like I said, I mean, Colts having a young team and the fast. And St. George's, I'm not saying they don't have fast players like that, but to keep up with them, I knew they wouldn't be ready for Devonshire Colts today.
Well, I just want to say that actually Devonshire Colts coach Ray Jones will be joining us momentarily to discuss today's match and obviously the rough start they've had and what's now in their future. Punchy, today's match up at White Hill, we talked about it last week, how it was important for both teams, both Somerset Eagles and Crossroads, to get valuable 3 points. I mean, for Somerset Eagles, they were looking for their first point. And of course, Crossroads had 2 draws in the bag. But now they come away, they scored 2 more goals, but nothing to show for it.
Yeah, I'm very surprised about that score. Very surprised. Again, I think we talked about Gary Dow being involved with Somerset Eagles. I think Somerset Eagles could play like a team. Somerset Eagles playing at home against Crossroads. I should have thought, that could be a little question there.
Right.
But let's get back to let's do a good Crossroads on the Cameron Fox. I think this coach, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not a young coach. I'm not saying it's inexperience, but you do see that they're not getting the results that they should be having. If you add Ian Coke to that team from Boulevard, I thought they would be doing a lot better. So something's not right there. And it's funny that it's shown the same players, but not the right results. So would we be asking if the person in charge of the team not doing the right thing, which I believe is happening there. To go up to Somerset Eagles, they're still like on the fringe. You go up there, even if North Village goes to play against Somerset Eagles next week or whenever they play, I think they still be Somerset Eagles at home will still give you a little problem.
Right.
So so it's kind of surprising, but a little bit not surprising about that score. So for me, well done for Somerset Eagles. Crossroads are really going to have to decide what to do because they're leaking goals. They played well. They came back against North Village, but it seems something's not right there with Crossroads right now. And you got one of the props. Donovan Thompson's not scoring as many goals.
Right. If he's not finding it back in the net on a regular, it creates a problem. But looking at Somerset Eagles, they've started the season playing some of the top teams that have already had matches under their belt with the Dudley Eve. And of course, when you start hitting those top teams, they actually, create a problem for you. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. They become, of course, top team. So now, who's the next? Maybe North Village. I don't know when the schedule is, but I don't know when North Village has to play Somerset Eagles. But you're right about that in terms of what they had to endure for the first 3 or 4 games. So maybe they're just letting themselves and finding their place. We'll see. We'll see. Do they play well away from home? I know they play well at White Hill.
Right.
How do they travel? Do they travel well?
Yeah.
And that will be my question about Somerset Eagles.
Right. Maceo, down at Devonshire Rec, Cougars took a 3-0 lead in the first half with 2 goals on the stroke of halftime, and then PHC have an uphill battle. Pulled a goal back early, but no more. For a young team like PHC, they can't afford to fall behind, that
Well-
far, that early because of the lack of experience in the team.
Well, that match sort of sent two messages. PHC needed to come away with a victory in that match to sort of announce that we're here and we're going to compete at the top end of it. But yes, their inexperience showed up for sure. Their inexperience of a young team showed up. There was a bit lethargic. They had a chance earlier with the young kid and Russell. So it was almost like they showed up expecting because they've been on a good run of form that they'll get a positive result. But the other message that it sends that Devonshire Cougars are genuine title contenders. They definitely are genuine title contenders, and the team was managed well. The strategy and the tactics were managed well. Because they were also without our players.
They could see.
Simmons
I'm lying.
returned to the bench. They was kind of nursing him with one eye on the final on Wednesday, and they totally dominated afterwards. They totally dominated PHC, and PHC just didn't have what it takes to get back in it. So it's back down to earth for PHC and that young team, and hopefully they kind of learn from that. But it signals that they're definitely in a development phase, and from that result, I don't see them being able to mount a serious title contention.
Right. As I had mentioned earlier, we were going to be joined by Ray Jones, the head coach of Devonshire Colts. They pulled off a 4-2 victory over St. George's Colts earlier today. Well, first of all, welcome, Ray.
Yeah, welcome, guys. Thanks for having me.
Obviously, you guys have had some bad luck starting the season with results, but today you kind of was able to kind of represent yourselves with a victory, with a performance. I watched the first half, and I was kind of impressed with the way you guys were knocking the ball around. I'm not saying you haven't been knocking the ball around, but to finish with those early 2 goals and then jump up to a 4-0 lead, I just think that the game plan was on par up until the 78th minute.
Yeah, so we're been really putting a focus on quality of play, but I want the players that is a significant jump from first division. The pace will be quicker. You have to concentrate to the final whistle. So as you stated, our performances, most people that's watched us have enjoyed watching us. But at the end of the day, W's is where it counts. So we've had to relook at things. First, we focused on defensively. We were giving up too many goals a game. So last week we got a shutout, and up until the 78th minute, it was a shutout. And then this week we wanted to add our attacking flair back to our game, and I think that's where it all came together today. And then hopefully, the boys can grow. So I have a young team. The biggest challenge is I tell them it's called youthfulness. With youthfulness and lack of experience, you tend to drift out of the game sometimes when the game still needs a bit of focus. And when you look at the game today, it's 78 minutes in, we're bossing the match, and then humility doesn't take place. So you're trying to do things that you normally wouldn't do to kind of, what I would say, embarrass the opponent. Next thing you know, it's 4-2, and we're hanging on to a 10-man team. So that's the whole youthfulness part of our program that we need to fix. But in big scheme of things, happy for the 3 points today. Happy to finally taste victory. And hopefully this just galvanizes, because we had good numbers in training, full commitment from the starting team and the reserve team. And I think this now came just at the right time as doubt was starting to set in into the process. So So that kind of sums up today's performance.
Actually, I was going to ask that question about how do you keep that young team motivated? Because the biggest problem with young players is that, their attention span isn't like we used to have it years ago. When things are not going the way, they tend to drift off. But the fact that these youngsters have hung in there, they worked hard to get to where they are today, and then they get the result. But looking forward, and you're looking at the league, you look at the results, you look at the teams you've played already because you have to play them again. What do you see your young team by Christmas?
Well, we're aiming to be at least around mid-table. We had these 3 runner games, of which I basically laid it out to them. We have to beat the teams that's around us if we're really gonna stay out of that whole relegation conversation. So St. George's is a team that's around us. It started with today. Basically, it's one game at a time. I cannot allow them to get ahead of themselves. So even after the game, I put more focus on the fact they gave up 2 goals after the 78th minute. I just took all that enjoyment they thought they had because it's a hard league. It's not a game that you play for 70 minutes. It's 90 plus minutes. So you look at the Somerset game, we gave up the winner in the 96th minute. So you got to play to the end. You got to play every facet of the game. I tell them respect the opponent. The opponent will have a limit in the game. And we haven't been dealing with any opponents at the limits in the game. So looking at that, but I've also some are experienced players that haven't really committed at this point. I've sent a message out to them because I could tell the team's lacking a bit of leadership and experience. So hopefully by Christmas they kick in for the second half, and we know points are really hard to come by in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
And just before I let Maceo and these guys have a question, there is a lot of talk, or there was a lot of talk about the youngsters you have possibly going back to school in January, and obviously that will kind of not deplete your squad, but obviously have you missing some talent in the second half of the season. How do you, if that is still the case, how do you plan to negate that to make sure that you take what you can or get what you can in this first half of the season?
Well, we actually have a deep team. We have yet to play our strongest team. Rather be injuries, just people not where I want them to be. I'm really trying to set a standard at the club of commitment to training, physical levels, as we brought Apex on board, physical and psychological levels to play. So I'm not concerned. We're very deep. We're still averaging about 28 people training, and some of them still have yet to touch the pitch. That I think if they were somewhere else, they would have touched the pitch by now. It's just that I tell them I'm not going to give in due to the fact that we weren't getting results. So they're buckling down. As far as some people going back to school, I don't think we'd be losing too many. And to be honest, during this time, if the UK, you see it's going back shelter in place, the US, I know Biden's in power now, but as long as Trump was there, I don't even think parents were comfortable in sending the kids back. So I really don't expect a mass exodus in January. Just been feeling the boys out. They're not comfortable in going back in those environments. And in fact, some of the UK boys, that's some of their friends are now shelter in place, not even playing football. So they're like, you know what, coach? I could do my classes online. I'm having success. So for the most part, I'll probably be here for the second half of the season.
Yeah. I have two questions of you, Ray, and thanks for coming on the show. Good show today. Good result. Colts history kind of fluctuating between the two leagues is no secret. The last time that Colts were stabilized and sustained in the Premier League was under Vic Ball, where they actually won the league, and they won the league with discipline. They showed a lot of discipline. They had some they had players of Shannon Burgess and Jamali Samuels and Vic Ball Jr., and they won the league with discipline. How do you instill the discipline in these young guys? What is your the ways that you're going to go and instill discipline. And I have one more question for you as well that kind of leads into that, and you can answer them both at the same time. With the many roles that you play, you know, being the president of Colts, being the coach of Colts, you know, how do you create the balance in those things to be able to service what this young group actually needs to move the South forward?
Yeah, so as far as the discipline part, as I stated earlier, I'm incorporating a level of commitment and discipline that I feel has been lacking in the game. Started with my club first. So we have targets, we have things they need to be doing in training, things they need to be doing off the pitch, to even be eligible to actually play. I'm very transparent about them standards, been very transparent since the beginning of the season. I have shared that with the rest of the executive. I'm going to be very honest with you, Macy. I'm glad you asked the question. I'm coming to the end of the road. I've been doing this role off and on, multiple roles off and on. So we have a young executive. I'm putting them through their paces. And I basically tell them, as the coach, if I don't get the results, you can fire me because, you know, here's the standard that I tell you we need to be at. And if you don't see it happening, because they come by training to see if I'm living up to what I said the standard should be. Because when I leave the active role in Colts, I want to put us on a platform that here's the blueprint for the club, so that somebody can come in and then maybe take us to the next level. To be quite frank, I ended up back in the job last year by default, based on the fact that we were speaking to a few people that we thought we wanted to do the job, and then they bailed out on transfer deadline day. So at that point, you couldn't find a coach. Obviously, you know, I'm right there. I took over, and we had some success. Great. So just building off of that, we're got a few people helping around, just trying to ease them into the old coaching role, because, you know, there's be some continuity. And part of it is just sharing them all these standards. And, you know, like I said, we've got some players that probably should be starting, but I'm refusing to allow them to start until they meet the standards that we require.
Andre,
Yeah.
any
Hi,
questions?
how you doing, Ray? How are you? Good.
I'm good.
Good. It's good. I'm glad you're on the program. First of all, I got to applaud you for your diligence, doing dual roles, the Devonshire Colts. I'm seeing your team play, especially against North Village. And it remind me also of PHC. Winston Cotrot Jr. is young. I thought that at times your team was playing really well, but they did lack certain seniority in certain positions, especially goal scoring. Against North Village, I thought you guys were really on. I saw the second half, but you guys were really on top of North Village in the quality of what you're trying to achieve there. My question to you, actually, my point to you says what I say with Winston Coach. There's a platform that you're starting to build at Devonshire Colts. The person that comes in to take over your coaching, and when you decide to step down, will they be in club or are you going to be looking outside?
That's a very good question, you know, Punch. It's very good. I mean, if you look at coaches' coaching history, always seem to be promoting people from in club. We have had some discussions, and the people we were looking at prior to me coming back on board were actually people that was outside of the club, because we thought maybe it needed a slightly different perspective. And, you know, so we're open-minded. And like I said, it's a young executive, so I'm just trying to expose them to different things. So the door is not closed for someone outside, but one of the main things that we're trying to build now is family. So similar to you know, the club that you support, that you play for, North Village. Most successful years was you know, when it was all family, like people that came up through the program. So they know what the crest stands for, the ability to fight when the chips are down. And really, we don't want to go away from that. Our most successful years, I would say, with lifting trophies was with family players that came up through our program. from under 12s right through. So to me, that is the platform. So this group now is the players that's been at the club since under 7s. So regardless if we go outside or continue to promote within, that's something that we want to stick to because that's been where we've been most successful. We're not big on trying to bring in what we call in local a big signing from someone that's not been affiliated with the club because that normally works when you're winning. It's when the chips are down, right? Who's gonna hang around? You know what I mean? So that part of the blueprint will always stay, but we are a bit more open because we have looked at most of the coaches have been promoted from within the Colts family.
Danica, any questions?
Having a young team that you have, and I believe majority of them have probably never really played Premier Division before. Coming from First Division to Premier Division, how do you find them adapt?
Talent-wise, they're on par. Experience-wise, we're well below par. So they're learning on the job. As Punchy highlighted, that's a game there. I thought we should have got something out of the game, but there were 2 crucial moments in the game where inexperience played a part. So they're learning. I warned them before the season started. Talent just ain't enough at this level. So I as much as we want to be further up the table, I think it's going to make them better in the long run for this season and seasons to come, and learning these lessons because they're young. If we would have probably jumped off with some good results, I think they would have lacked a bit of humility, and that's what's needed in sports sometimes. Even when you're on top, you have to be humble. You must respect the opponent, respect the officials, respect the other club. And with young people, they're impressionable. Sometimes when they're having a good time, they lose focus. So I'm trying to turn the negative results into positive that they learn on the job, and then be able to be a bit more humble going forward, and then hopefully the results will fall in place.
Well, Ray, I do want to thank you for your time, but looking at today's results actually kind of gives you some inspiration, I guess, picking up those first 3 points, knowing that you still have the teams around you to play, but you've been blessed with having guys who want to learn a system, and I think it started last year with this team that played into a system that you had been drilling in the head. How much more of that buy-in is needed to be successful? And when I say successful, I'm talking about surviving this season.
And is there? I think today's result came at the right time. I think, just with anything in life, if you haven't had a little bit of success, you start to doubt the process. And that's just human nature. And all the coaching staff will be saying, trust the process. And it's kind of hard when you ain't had no success. But with today's success, they came off the pitch and it's like, yeah, coach, you're absolutely right. Trust the process. Today, it kind of all came together. So with that, hopefully we can grow. I mean, it's buying into the patterns of play that we have designed. I don't have to convince nobody because they can see it. It's just that we haven't been rewarding ourselves. So for me, it's now the defensive patterns that we're not consistent on, and that's what we've really been focusing on over the last two to 3 weeks. The defensive patterns that we want to create in matches against opponents, and they're starting to realize that part of the game is where they need to learn a lot. That if we stick to our defensive patterns, it leads to our offensive patterns. They're seeing it for themselves. So.
I have another question on that line. It's a very, very loaded question. So, knowing Colts and their culture of football, and in terms of the beautiful game, maybe they were sacking next to Village and playing the North Village playing their beautiful game, right? But with also understanding teams take on coaches' personality, and your personality is a good one for football because it's a dominant personality. Is is it time to reconsider playing expansive football and going to result-based football? And I speak from the perspective of even watching North Village, where obviously they're not playing the village type of football at this moment because of the personnel that's there, and they're kind of been set up to be hard to beat. Is there consideration from the coaching staff of adjusting the tactical game plan to start to get results for these young players and kind of earning the right to play that expensive football?
Well, good question. Just to clear it up, we one of the things I've learned in the national program working with Kyle is there's no right way and no wrong way to play football. So we actually have a variety of patterns to play. The beautiful game is one. Obviously, it's pretty on the eye, but you have to respect the opponent. Sometimes the opponent has scouted you, and like you said, let's use North Village. They set up to stop you from playing. So you have to have another way to play. And quite frankly, we work on literally 5 different ways to actually play to be successful. So the beautiful game is the first one. I agree with you, Maceo. You could, if you watch this, that's what we're trying to do: play through the lines, combination play, a lot of running off the ball. But trust me, we have some English tactics as well, route one things, and we did it a few times. I would say the PAC game in particular, when they got a foothold in the game, we just went over the top, because at that point you had to respect the opponent. They moved the line higher. They was really looking to shut us down from moving the ball through the lines, and the players know that. We set that out in preseason. You have to adapt. You have to respect the opponent, and basically, here's the 5 ways to solve the problem. And at any particular time, one of them 5 ways might become the dominant display on the day to get the result. So, beautiful game, yes, that's what we want to do. But we're trying to pass on to them. Some days, it's just not about the beautiful game. Just, the other team, it could be their day, more dominant, more quicker to the ball, just everything going for them. So you just have to win ugly, and we do have that in our locker.
Well, again, Ray, congratulations on your win today. Good luck for the rest of the season. Thank you for joining us here on the Island Stats Football Show on this Sunday, the day that you picked up your 3 points over St. George's Colts. Well, folks, we'll be right back after this message from us.
We've already sung the praises of Welch's famous grape juice, so healthful and refreshing, a truly great family favorite. So with the festive season fast approaching, remember to stock up on Welch's sparkling juice cocktails, flavorful and thirst-quenching, another celebration of the greatness of the grape. The Welch's White, Red, and Rosé are all wonderful on their own, but for a special seasonal treat, try Welch's sparkling juice cocktail in festive punch recipes, garnished with cinnamon sticks or fresh cranberries. All non-alcoholic and also festive. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. We had the coach of Devonshire Colts, Ray Jones, on. Danica, let me ask you this question. What were some of the things that kind of piqued your interest when Ray was talking about him doing that dual role of coach and president? It's got to be tough.
I was pretty much stunned myself. I didn't know he was actually the president of Colts as well. But I find that being the coach and being the president, even being the coach and even having another role, whether being the club or not, it puts a lot of strain on you. Having to do 2 things at the the same place or whatever the case may be. But I'm sure it's tough on him. But he's got broad shoulders. He can handle it.
Mm-hmm. Very unique position, Punchy. As he stated, and I saw a few eyebrows raised that he said that if his committee feel that he is not getting the results that are needed, they could fire him.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess this is always about results. It's always about results and how to achieve. We all have our different opinions on how they're achieved. Like Macy was saying about what asked the question about him. Is there another element to the game? My thing is that again, my time when I took Menno to England to be with my grandson. What I did notice more, and I thought I learned more of the game just watching how the organization was. Here, which is very important when we talk about Ray, there's Ray doing a dual job. It's impossible. I don't know how he does it, and also family man, that we just have, it's not enough people to help out, if that makes any sense. There's Ray, okay, let's say for Ray is the coach, which I do like. Now you got to have the physio. You also got to have somebody who is your right ear. That's your assistant coach.
Yes.
Then you got to have the physio. Then you have a lot of people that give you advice to sit there and write down notes and jot down what you got to do. Here I find, because again, maybe it's because the people not being getting paid to do those jobs, but I find it extremely difficult for us to go to another level until these things are recognized, that people like Ray Jones don't have to do all this work. He just a coach and just a coach. And yeah, when I send them to the gym, they're on the gym. There's a physio's job. And that's what I found again, learning more about what happens to get people to a certain level. That here in Bermuda, it's just, the coaches are just on so much, like they gotta do everything. Bring the equipment, organize what jerseys they're gonna wear on a day. No, that's not gonna work. That's gotta change. And I'm glad Ray came on and said that. I'm glad those questions were asked. But I think, just like I was pretty impressed with, I'm always watching the coaching aspect of the game, what's happening on the bench, who's giving all the instructions, who's the coach's right hand man. And I'm finding that I'm pleased with what Norfolk is trying to achieve with Kenny and Randy. I saw it with Somerset. I saw it with PHC today too, and I've seen it with Cougars, and I'm pretty impressed. But it's a start. Yeah. I'm just adding to the fact that we need to do more. People in the coaching fraternity have got to help out people like Ray Jones. That's it.
I think, and Macia, you could probably help out with this.
Sure.
When the association went to, you had to have a certain license in order to be a coach. A lot of clubs found themselves high and dry without the qualified coaches, where they then had to have a mentor, and sometimes that mentor was the person that was that person's ear at times, and you see that at a place like Devonshire Cougars, where Vance has the qualifications, where Mark is working towards it, and it actually for them works out perfect.
Well, it's two things. I like to just to back up a little bit on that conversation. I go back to my time at North Village and taking over North Village. One of my demands on the North Village executive was that somebody was in place for everything. Somebody was in place to pick up the balls. Somebody was in place to wash the jerseys. Somebody was in place for the medic, and that team of things was what created the success. The other part of having that somebody in place, as we're starting to talk, do we start to look outside the norm, which is our membership or even our family? Because we understand that these are family clubs, but they need to be, we need to bring a different perspective in there, something that's not family, to be able to get that assistance. And I think sometimes we're not been readily open to look outside of what is the norm within our club to gain that assistance. I've found that assistance is there if we look outside the norm. The next part of it is the qualification piece. So we already know in Bermuda that we only have 35, I believe, B licensed qualified coaches. So I'm a B licensed coach, but I've made a choice. I've made a choice that I would only coach in the youth division to develop from that point. So we have the clubs are hamstrung and at the ransom of these B licensed coaches. There's gotta go moving forward. It was suggested that there be some consideration to allow the C licensed coaches to coach at the senior level, because we have over 250 C licensed coaches, and them coaching 11-a-side football will start to grow them to be ready for the B license, which is all about 11-a-side football. But those are some of the things that the association, and the coaching association needs to take a look at, so that clubs have a variety of coaches to choose from. So right now, clubs are hamstrung to choose from. And even if you're choosing from a coach inside your program, does that coach fit your philosophy? So what I mean by that, take Scott Morton coming to North Village. He did well at North Village, and he changed, and we won 2 league titles. But Scott's football philosophy was very different from North Village football philosophy. So it's a conversation that needs to be had, so we have more diverse coaches that can coach. And simply put, you take a country like Spain, and I don't know the exact statistic as it relates to England. Spain have like 35,000 coaches available to coach from. England has 15,000. Why do you think they do that?
It's like, oh yeah, can't hurt.
Yeah, why do you think Spain has a more diverse coaches to choose from? For the clubs. And we need to grow our coaching fraternity in Bermuda for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to look at the league standings, and we'll get into the picks from this week, and then obviously next weekend's picks. We'll be right back.
Coconut oil has been popular here in Bermuda as a skin moisturizer for generations, but is sometimes avoided in cookery because of its unhealthy reputation. We've witnessed a change in attitudes as recent findings indicate that coconut oil is actually heart healthy and can enhance our immune system, increase metabolism, energy and endurance, and improve digestion. Nutiva coconut oil is a superfood in its own right, and this month we're featuring Nutiva organic shortening made with organic coconut and red palm oils and also hemp seed oil. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Well, we're back, and looking at the current standings in the Premier Division, we have Robin Hood on 16 points. They have 5 wins, 1 draw with that 3-0 victory over North Village Rams on Saturday night. Then it's Dandytown Hornets and Devonshire Cougars, both on 14 points.
I don't know what to do.
Devonshire Cougars have played 1 more game than the Dandytown Hornets, and for that matter, Robin Hood. And North Village Rams have 11 points. They're in 4th place. And then PHC and Somerset Trojans both have 10 points. Southampton Rangers have 8. Devonshire Colts have 5. St. George's Colts have 4. Somerset Eagles have 3. And Crossroads have the 2 points. In the 1st division, we have Young Man Social Club out in front with 13 points. St. David's a second with 10 points. Now, Hamilton Parish have 9 points, but they've only played 3 matches, as opposed to Social Club, who have played 6 matches, and St. David's have played 5. Boulevard Blazers have 7. They're in 4th place. Island Rangers and Flanagan's Onions both have 4 points, with Wolves on 1 and Vasco without a point. Well, the standings are starting to shape up, and obviously, as we get deeper into the season, we will see how things will materialize. Now we're going to take a look at, obviously, those picks from last weekend. And I must say, when I was going through these picks, I had to say it was a sorry sight. It was a real sorry sight for many. You're laughing. Okay, so on Saturday night, it was Robin Hood and North Village. All 5 of us took, I'm sorry, hold on. 4 of us took Robin Hood, with Nikita going out on a limb, taking North Village. So 4 of us got a point, and Nikita stayed on her 20.
She's voting with her heart again.
Well, I'm going to tell you. And then it was Southampton Rangers and the Dandytown Hornets. Every one of us took the Dandytown Hornets. That match ended in a 1-1 draw. Somerset Eagles and Crossroads, all 5 of us thought that Crossroads would be able to pull it off, but in fact, it was Somerset Eagles winning 3-2. Then Devonshire Cougars and the PHC Zebras. Myself, Maceo, Danica, and Nikita all took PHC. Punchy, you took a draw. We all got that wrong. Devonshire Colts and St. George's Colts. I took St. George's. Punchy, you took a draw. Maceo, you picked a draw. Danica, you picked Devonshire Colts. And Keita picked a draw. So Danica was the only one with 2 points in the Premier Division this weekend. 2 points. Then we moved to the First Division, and Flanagan's Onions and Ireland Rangers. I took Flanagan's Onions. Everyone else took Ireland
It was a
Rangers.
big surprise.
Yes. Then we had Wolves and St. David's. Myself, Maceo, and Danica all took St. David's, while Punchy and Nikita both took Wolves. Then it was Social Club, and of course, St. David's won that match 1-0. Then Social Club and Boulevard drew 2-2. Myself, Punchy, we took Social Club, Maceo, Danica, and Nikita all took Boulevard Blazers. So at the end of the day, after the two days of matches, I finished with 3 points. Punchy, you finished with 1. Maceo, you got 2. Danica, you got 3. And Keita got 1. Punchy, a big surprise, eh?
Yeah, a real big surprise. A real big surprise. No. I thought this was supposed to be easy. I thought we were supposed to be like, okay, we can hold these.
But you got to remember, we don't control when the ball's dropped. We don't control that.
See, yeah. But yeah, really so. I'll speak about the game at Devonshire when I went to the second half of Devonshire Cougars and PHC. And the game I saw on Saturday night. Quick reference to both games. I thought the second half, I thought PHC I thought they were the better team in the second half. Of course, the missing when you are without people like Sequoia and Trey Mean, then what you got Vincent Coach Jr.'s got is a lot of youngsters. Now the football, I thought that I was very impressed with some of the stuff they were attempting to do. Because in the old days, PHC they did on percentage.
Yeah.
Ball over the top, make sure 75% of the ball is in the opponent's area.
Mm-hmm.
But seems to me that Vincent Coach Jr. is trying to do something different. But what he's doing is got a whole lot of youngsters, so you're gonna have these mistakes. My point in this program today, and I make these notes, I was very impressed with what he's trying to achieve there. Stay focused. I think in the fourth, they have the right blueprint. They just have to kind of understand that even if you don't come up with no trophies, just know that you have a good blueprint. That's it. The other night, Saturday night against Norfolk, I think Maceo put it right last week. Norfolk is just bullied out of that game, which I think with a better physical team and a much more technical team. It's not like playing against Dennytown the other when they were 2-0 up. They were definitely Jordan Berry just pressed them, and from the jump just was on them, and I was like, whoa. So what else can he have? And it was like, whoa. And it could have been worse. It could have been worse, really. Yeah. So that's my a point on that. I just think that Norfolk is still anything they win today this year, my team, anything they get is a bonus. It's a bonus. But I'm just saying with Ray Jones and with just give them a little feather, something to work on. That what Vincent Cochard is trying to do up there, I was impressed. Trust me. Just
you had a chat with John Barry after the game last night, and the topic of the ruthlessness that you were talking to him about last week on this show came up, and he basically said he had to change his personality after reflecting.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had this conversation with John Barry that he's a nice guy, right? And people who look at me as not a nice guy, I usually get told that, when I've got somebody down, I'll actually step on their head and make sure they don't get up. And that's actually the truth, when it comes to football, when it comes to competitive football, whereas Jordan Barry might help somebody out after he knocks them down.
Right.
So he had to go away and think about how he becomes ruthlessness in his own personality towards football. As you saw the question I asked Ray about Ray's dominant personality as a person, and it's very good for sports. But how do you bring that personality out in your team? So Jordan Barry needs to have that ruthlessness, and his team actually showed ruthlessness. It really showed. And I use a saying all the time. Suarez bites somebody at the World Cup. Zinedine Zidane put somebody at the World Cup finals. Like, that's a level of ruthlessness, that comes with this game that we play.
Right. Well, let's get into our picks for next week, which we have some very interesting matches. The North Village Rams will travel to Somerset Cricket Club to take on Somerset Trojan. Danica.
I'm gonna take Somerset.
Okay. Punchy?
I'm taking Village for this.
Maceo?
Yeah, I'm picking Village. Ken is gonna want to stick one to Somerset, man. So I'm taking Village for sure.
I'm actually going to take the North Village Rams as well. Then it's Devonshire Cougars at home to Southampton Rangers. Maceo.
Oh boy, Devonshire Cougars, man. They keep impressing me, man. They keep impressing me, and they're growing in strength. And their Mark is Vance wasn't on the bench today, and Mark is actually managing that team well and making some really good decisions. So Devonshire Cougars.
Punchy?
Devonshire Cougars to win. At home. Yeah.
Okay. Danica?
I'm gonna take Devonshire Cougars also.
And I'm going to take Devonshire Cougars as well. Somerset Eagles are at home to Devonshire Colts. Maceo.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Devonshire Colts as after I've listened to Ray. He's fully understanding what's lacking and what's required, and he's working on those pieces. So for me, Devonshire Colts, and that because they actually have a really quality bunch of players.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray admitted to that the players are on par with the rest of the players as far as talent. So winning is going to do something really good for them. So I'm picking Devonshire Colts.
Danica?
I'm gonna take Devonshire Colts also.
Punchy?
I'm taking Devonshire Colts to win. I agree with Maceo. On part, I think some Eagles do play well at home. Just what they do at home. But I think Devonshire Colts is really gonna. I do say that I saw something in them. I see something. Maybe when they played against Cougars last week at Police Field, there's something there. And if Ray Jones just gets the final things right, they're gonna be okay. They'll take a big step. So I'm picking Devonshire Colts to win against Somerset Eagles.
I'm actually going to pick a draw because of this fact. Both teams picked up their first wins of the season today. Both teams will be coming into this next game on a high and looking to kind of continue that form. Now, of course, Somerset Eagles have been leaking a lot of goals, but at home today they were able to outscore their opponent. Devonshire Colts have been leaking goals as well, and as we saw the last 10 minutes of today's match, they gave up 2 goals. This game will end probably 2-2, so that's why I'm picking a draw for this particular game. Okay? PHC Zebras are at home to St. George's Colts. Danica.
I'm gonna take a draw. I'm gonna leave
Oh boy.
Oh, it's just going for
her. Maceo?
So St. George's Colts, I've learned that St. George's Colts have lobbied the other clubs and the BFA to only allow 2 teams to go down. It's a reason they did that. It's a reason that did that because they know they're dead man walking. St. George's Colts will not win that game. PAT will win against St. George's Colts.
Punchy?
Yeah, definitely. I work with Freddie Hall, and I work with Dave Signal, and I told them they got quite a bit of work to do there with St. George's. They're still in the process of learning. Great for Freddie Hall, wonderful goalkeeper, one of the best in this country, but that's not enough. I'm going with PHC to win this.
And I have picked the PHC Zebras to win this match. Take it easy, Maceo. Take it easy.
You're gonna need security.
Hey, what I watched today, yeah. Then the final match is, I think, one of the matches in which a lot of people will be a lot interested in. Robin Hood will take on the Dendy Town Hornets at the BAA Field. Maceo.
Hey, boy, you know what? I've seen the little slips that are happening in Dannytown now since they don't have the Tino Richardson and the Aniko Lowe. They introduced today 2 new players, and they got Kamal, who brought a bit of aggression, and they also introduced the very talented Najee Swan. Yeah, but I feel this is definitely going to be the battle and set the tone of who's going to win this league. For me, is a bit early for that young team at Dannytown, and I'm going to pick Robin Hood. They're going to be organized. They're going to be ruthless. They're going to be aggressive, and they're going to win this match. Robin Hood's going to. I'm picking Robin Hood to take it.
Punchy?
I'm picking Robin Hood to win this. Just as Maceo said, add to what Maceo said about Joan Barry's ruthlessness. I think he'll do the same thing when he did to North Village. Physically, they're going to really be on the Dannytown players. Well, not really mature. There's still a lot of young players in that team. You know, there's a little right winger that I think he's only 16, playing against North Village the other night. So I'm definitely going with Robin Hood in terms of maturity. Definitely Robin Hood to win that game.
Danica?
I'm going Robin Hood.
I've picked the Dandytown Hornets, and I'll explain why. You talk about the physicality of the Dandytown Hornets and against North Village. The difference in the 2 teams of North Village and the Dandytown Hornets, the Dandytown Hornets have a bunch of young guys who can take those tackles, get up, and keep going, where some of the North Village players are aging and are not recovering well to that type of physicality. Where these youngsters from the Dandytown Hornets, and especially if they're successful on Wednesday night, they're going to want Wednesday afternoon in the Dudley Eve final, they're going to want to keep that momentum going. And if they don't win that, they're going to want to actually show up again. So I'm going to take the Dandytown Hornets because of their ability to ride those tackles, to overcome the physicality of a team like Robin Hood, and just giving them that slight edge. So I'm going to take the Dandytown Hornets. Now we move to the first division. St. David's are at home to Hamilton Parish. Danica, never mind. You gonna take St. David's, Danica?
Never.
Maceo?
Hamilton Parish. I mean, I think you should give Hamilton Parish a trophy now, man. Hamilton Parish for sure.
Okay, Punchy?
Hamilton Parish to beat St. Davis for sure.
Okay, so that's 4 of us taking Hamilton Parish.
And Earl?
Yes?
I watched the game today a little bit with them and Wolves. That game was, I thought it to be very scrappy. I mean, both teams, couldn't make too many passes. Then they're just kicking the ball, and it's. But all in all, after watching them today, I'm got them.
Put your mouth. Don't be like. If you notice, the paper done 2 stories this week on 2 teams, and both those teams lost. So don't you put your mouth on Hamilton Parish.
I got you. I'm all right.
All right. the next game, Flanagan's Onions against Vasco. Punchy.
Flanagan's.
Maceo,
Yeah, Flanagan's for sure.
Danica.
I'm gonna take Flanagan's OC.
Okay, so that's 4 for 4. Flanagan's Onions over Vasco. Boulevard Blazers are at home to Wolves. Punchy.
Boulevard for this game. Yeah, Boulevard.
Danica.
I'm gonna take Boulevard OC.
Maceo.
Yeah, Albie Smith is down at Boulevard. He's one of the legendary players that to come out of the Boulevard. So he's got that team down there, and I see him slowly starting to influence them in the Boulevard way. So definitely Boulevard I'm taking.
And I have taken Boulevard as well. Social Club will travel west and go up to Malabar to face Island Rangers. Danica.
I'm gonna take Social Club.
Okay. Maceo.
So I'm now taking Social Club seriously after I saw him today. Historically I haven't taken Social Club seriously, and they actually have some good little players. And a number 21 at Battlefield that's on the wing. The guy Roger Paris' son that sits in the midfield.
Ryan Paris.
Ryan Paris. They actually have a little something about them, and they actually surprised me coming from a girl Dawn to edge out a point against Boulevard.
And actually could have won it in the end if they'd have gotten at least one of those shots on target.
Exactly. They could have actually won it. So they got something about them. So I'm taking them a bit seriously now. So Social Club to win that game for sure.
Punchy?
Social Club to win. Just to add to what I experienced a couple of weeks ago. Maybe last week when one of the Social Club players was saying, "Oh, none of you guys are taking us real serious on the show, are you? But look at the results. Look at the standards." I was like, "Okay, all right. Let's see what you're about. Let's see what's about." So I don't know who's coaching there. They seem to be getting the results. Social Club is an old team that's been down there for a long time. Been down in that league for a long time. I think Troy Lewis is still there. The organization seems to be getting better. So, and they're not on top just by mistake. So there's something going on there. So I'm gonna take Social Club to win.
Okay, and I've taken Social Club as well. Well, guys, we've come to the end of another That's Football Show on a Sunday. Hopefully next week we'll have smiles on our faces, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there smiling at us and wanting to say something to us after our picks from last week, because my gracious, some of the results today left me baffled. But Punchy, as we say, that's football.
Yep, that's it.
That's a beautiful game.
That's it.
Well, guys, have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Have fun. All right.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, y'all.